Okay, this is a tutorial on how to quote printing from 4 over. I've been given a task to provide printing quote, and this is for business cards, 500 and 1,000 quantities. You can see down here in the documents section we have the final artwork. You can see that it's full color, that it's two-sided, and so I'll be looking for a quote for all these specifications. Step one is to go to trade.fourover.com, log in, and I'm going to go to business card products. Now there's a lot of options here. I do know on these cards from previous orders, it's not specified in here, but we will be doing a 1/8 inch rounded corner on these. The first thing to do is to start using the filters. Now there's a lot of paper options here. What I find what I find myself using most commonly with business cards is 16 point. In fact, here's a good example: 16 point matte doll finish. So I'm just going to cut to the chase and go to 16 point because the price between 14 point and 16 point is really close on business cards, and I'd rather just go with the heavier option. It's a little bit, it's kind of like the difference between 60 and 80 pound cover stock or 80 and 100 pound. Business cards, we already have that filtered because we're the business card dimensions, rather. We already have that filtered by nature of clicking the business cards link on the left. So now we still have a lot of options here. In this case, there's no spot UV file, and I know from previous orders on this job that it's not a spot UV job. Otherwise, we'd see the black and white spot UV artwork, 2 more files for front and back, or just 1 file for front or back. I don't see that here, and I know that there's not spot UV in this job. So I'm just going to cancel that or filter that out right now. So we're going to go to coding. Here are your spot UV options on back only, on front only, but I know that we just want matte doll finish. That's a coated paper. It's not an uncoated paper, it's a coated paper, but it's not a shiny, annoying coating, and there's no aqueous or anything like that. Corners, we're going to go with round corners, and then, there we go. We're left with one option. So our filters helped us out. I'm going to click on that, and since we only have one option, I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL. I'm going to start to make do some homework here, make my comments in the task. So I'll go ahead and paste that there. I like to paste the title and then the description along with it so that we know what we're talking about here. Got a little bit of that URL, so we're going to undo that. Paste. Always catches this little change product link here. So we'll delete that. So here we go. I've got our product SKU more or less. We've got a description, and we've got a link. So whoever makes the order, they can just click right here and then verify that they're in the right spot by double checking against this info. So we're going to do run of 500. And then we'll go back and we'll do 1,000. We're going to do 4 over 4, which is full color front, full color back. It's always front over back. So this will be 1 color black, this will be blank back, 1 color black or grayscale back, and then full color back. We're going to select that. Turnaround time, there wasn't a rush specified. 2 to 4 business days is pretty fast anyway, and they're generally produced really close to Arlington. We're going to do 1/8 of an inch. We're going to do all 4 corners at 1/8 of an inch rounded. Now here we go. we can. I usually skip the proofs and samples in terms of quoting. If we want to do that to cover ourselves, then generally it's wise to do a PDF proof. Samples, if we want samples, if they're not being shipped to us, if they're being drop shipped directly to the client, and we want samples, we can talk about that. But that's not part of the quoting process, so I'll just skip over that now. I don't need to give the job a name just to quote it, because we're going to get all our information right here on the right side. We do need to determine shipping. So if the client's going to pick them up here, or we're going to deliver them, then we can select free local delivery, and they'll be, which is an option here because they do produce this product in Arlington, and their courier. That does save 1 day at least, because UPS will generally take an extra day from their courier, and UPS will pick up on the same day, except the courier will drop it off on this day that it's picked up, and UPS will drop it off the next day. I know for this client, we're probably going to be shipping it directly, so I'm going to quote that. And default shipping would be right here, shipped to our office. We don't want that. That wouldn't make sense if we have free local delivery anyway. What I'm going to select is drop ship. So this will be shipped directly from the factory, the manufacturer, the printer in Arlington, Texas, to our client, Heather Bartos. And looks like we have some duplicate info in here. This one has a suite number just for the purpose of quoting. I'll pick one of these. It'll give us an estimate. UPS ground, $650, that's fine. So now we have our cost, $16.12 plus $650 shipping, and then 1,000 units is $19.76. So here's what I'll typically do at this point. Go over here. I'll say 500 quantity. Type it out just to be clear. Is going to be, call it $16 cost, plus shipping. I'll round up, just round up or down. I'll round up to $20 for 1,000. And here we can guess. I know from past experience that I don't think that going to 1,000 will change the shipping price, but it's always a good practice to run through it and see, because if we're talking about 1,000 versus 5,000 full size booklets, then yes, the shipping cost is definitely going to go up. It might double or triple. For business cards, it's probably not going to go up, but it's a good practice to run through and see. We'll select all the same options. The only difference is the run size. Drop ship to the Bartos. 1207. I'm glad I checked. It doubled. Okay. So now we give our quote. So typically what I'll do is I'll double, more or less double our cost of printing, and then add shipping on that, and then say that tax will be added on top of that as well, but not actually quote the tax this time around. So we'll call that $35 per set. Shipping. I think we'll round up here, so that'll be 32 plus 7. So we'll call it $40 flat. Shipped. Plus tax. That will be our retail quote. here, we'll double it, so it's 40 plus 12, so we'll call it 55 for a nice round number. Now, if they're ordering multiple sets, they may or may not be shipped together, so that does affect it. So if, let's say they're asking for a quote for one set of business cards, but they really in their mind they're planning on getting 4 or 5 sets. Let's say they hired a bunch of new people. That's a question that needs to be asked by the account manager and clarified prior to in order to get the shipping accurate. Otherwise, they'll just overpay. Okay, that's it for business cards. We have our one product. Let's see if we need to quote turnaround time here. I'll add that in here just to be clear. So our turnaround time for production is 2 to 4 business days, which really means 1 week. By the time that you upload artwork and approve it, and so on and so forth, if you miss the 10 a.m. cutoff or the 12 a.m. or 1 p.m. cutoff, whatever it is here, 2 to 4 business days. Cutoff time is 1 p.m. If you get it in after that 1 p.m., that 4 business days is really 5. So that's 1 week of production, and then it goes out for delivery, and then 1 more day for UPS to deliver it. So that's 7 business days. I would quote 1 to 2 weeks on this for total turnaround. The reason why is we have 7 business days is the max that 4over is saying it will take. If there's a quality control issue, they'll pull the job off the line and reprint it, which is good for quality control, not good for turnaround time. So always add in at least an extra day in there. So we're talking about 8 business days now. And the quickest they would do it is in 2. If you make the cutoff, they're done in 2 business days. It goes out, and then it goes out to UPS, and the UPS takes it out. Now we're talking 5 business days. And so that's where I come up with the 1 to 2 weeks. If it's 5 to 7 business days, let me just type that in before I forget that. It's 5 to 7 business days. Generally, I'll quote 2 to 3 weeks because just because of all the same reasons. The quality control, best case scenario, you're 7 business days, or you're at 5. In worst case, you're 7, and if you miss the cutoff here, then you're at 8, and then 2 days for delivery. Day 9 it goes to UPS. Day 10 it gets delivered. I say 2 to 3 weeks just to give the correct expectation to the client. But 2 weeks is probably going to be your worst case scenario on either of these. That's always a fair quote. Could happen sooner. Sometimes it really depends on what they have on their pipeline. I've seen it where business cards are printed and out the next day, and we have them in our hands 2 days later if it's local delivery. It all depends. So we have our homework here. We'll do call it homework, and then I'll get my written quote up top here. So what we'll do is I'll copy all this information, and then I'll trim some of it out so they don't see. I don't want to see the cost and shipping. By the way, if you need this for reference, this formatting, it's task 19606. Take out the print production. I'll take out the link here. I'll call this 80-pound. Kind of format this all a little bit nicer. So I just type it up like in a way that I would expect to read it. Something that flows a little bit nicer than their kind of clunky description. 2-inch by 3.5-inch business card, 80-pound matted cover stock paper, 1/8-inch rounded corner. We'll say full color, 2-sided. We have our turnaround time, our 500 quantity quote, and our 1,000 quantity quote. And that's it. That's all we need.